Good evening and welcome to the Thursday Talks. And this evening we're looking at the Council of Chalcedon. This is the fourth of the ecumenical councils. The ecumenical councils are councils of the worldwide church. And there are 7 which are recognised by both East and West, and another 14 which are recognised by the Catholic Church. In order to be valid councils, they have to be convoked by the Pope, and the proceedings at the end have to be ratified again by the Pope. So this is the fourth of them. The earlier councils of Nicaea, Constantinople and Ephesus had all been concerned with the nature of Jesus Christ. And they'd come to the conclusion that Jesus Christ is God, consubstantial with the Father, as well as being man. The Council of Chalcedon was convoked in the year 451 by the Emperor, Marcian, to deal with the heresy being proposed by a chap called Eutyches, who was the archimandrite or president of a monastery at Constantinople. And it was a very large council, about between 500 and 600 bishops attended it, mainly from the east, but there were some from the west too. And Pope Leo the Great sent legates to the council. It was in fact the largest council until Vatican I, some 1400 years later. Eutyches denied that Christ was truly man, and he held that there was only one nature in Christ, which was the divine nature. Now that might seem a bit academic, but it actually has serious repercussions for our faith, because if Jesus was not truly man, then his sacrifice on the cross would be ambiguous. But knowing that Christ is fully God and fully man, we can then trust fully in the salvation which he offers through his death and resurrection. So the Council affirms the existence of one person in 2 natures, which are united unconfusedly, unchangeably, indivisibly, and inseparably. Pope Leo the Great was a major authority at the council, and he sent a treatise on the subject, which is known as the Tome of Leo, a very precise setting out of the doctrine. And when his summary was read out, the council fathers acclaimed it. They said, "This is the faith of the fathers. This is the faith of the apostles. So we all believe. Thus the Orthodox believe. Peter has spoken thus through Leo." This was a major turning point in accepting that the Bishop of Rome had the authority of St. Peter and the right to intervene in matters of the faith. Not everybody agreed with the definitions in the end, and those who did not accept them broke away and formed the Monophysite churches of the East. All of this was against a background of disagreement about whether the church was subject to the authority of the emperor. It was in fact the emperor who convened the council rather than the Bishop of Rome or the Patriarch of Alexandria, although Leo added his authority to it. And there was also disagreement between various bishops as to who had jurisdiction where, because the church was expanding greatly after Constantine had made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire in 315. The church really expanded, and the questions arose about who actually was in charge, who was directing the church, and who was the real source of authoritative teaching. The discussions at the council were nothing like the sedate proceedings that we've seen at the Vatican councils, of bishops politely making speeches and being listened to, and sober discussions going on. It was completely different from that. In fact, the Council Fathers acted more like a modern-day football crowd, with the chanting of slogans, and there were cheers for proposals that they liked, and boos and curses for those they didn't. And on occasion, there was even violence, with the fathers having their teeth broken and their beards pulled out. And one, Bishop Flavian, was dragged from the altar by a mob and later died of his injuries. Matters of theology in those times were discussed with a passion unknown to us. There were other decisions of the council about matters of church governance, including a statement that the Church of Constantinople and the Church of Rome have equal honour. Now, this was not accepted by Pope Leo because it was based on the status of the two cities in the civil realm, rather than on them being churches founded by the apostles, Peter for Rome and Andrew for Constantinople. This created friction between the two churches that would eventually result in grave conflict, culminating in the Great Schism of 1054, when there was a break in communion between the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox churches, which continues to this day. And that division has its roots in the Council of Chalcedon, which the Orthodox saw as a power struggle by the Church of Rome, trying to get precedence and priority. And it's still with us today. It's actually still present in the conflict in Ukraine, where one of the ingredients there is a mistrust by Russia over Western influence in the church in Ukraine. And there you'll find that there is a Ukrainian Orthodox Church, but also a Ukrainian Catholic Church of the Eastern Rite. And they have been influenced very much from the West, and that's something which Russia seems to find very, very threatening. So these councils of the church are not just ancient monuments, as it were. They're things that affect our belief and our practice even today. The Creed, which we say at Mass on the ordinary Sundays of the year, the so-called Nicene Creed, was actually the product of two councils, the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Constantinople. And that creed was very much firmed up, as it were, at the Council of Chalcedon. So it has a very definite bearing on our faith at this point. The Church changes throughout the centuries in the way that she expresses her faith, but not in the truth of the faith. That was something that Pope John the 23rd said when he called the Second Vatican Council. He says, what the Church believes is one thing, how it expresses it is another. And the one cannot ever change, but its manner of expression can and will change. And so at the moment, as we know, Pope Francis is engaging in a whole process of the Church trying to discern what is the will of God, what it is that the Spirit wants us to do. And despite all the shenanigans, as it were, of the Council of Chalcedon, that was basically what they were doing there also. Next week we'll be looking at the Council of Ephesus. So thank you for listening.